What's happening, everybody? Crossing Broad here. Super Bowl 54 coming at you this Sunday from Miami. San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs. Promises to be a great football game, but best of all, there are thousands of betting options at our disposal. We are going to get into those options with our full betting preview in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to let you know that you can head over to crossingbroad.com. We will have all of the best Super Bowl 54 promotions lined up for you. And also be sure to head over to crossingbroad.com/DK. Check out DraftKings Sportsbook. They have up to $1,000 of free bet offers for this big game. And they also have a plus 300 odds offer on either the 49ers or Chiefs to win the game outright. Bets up to $20, paying out $60. Be sure to get your hands on that. crossingbroad.com/DK. All right, let's take a look at the current odds courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook as we talk here early in the week. San Francisco currently a 1.5-point underdog, plus 108 on the money line. Kansas City minus 122 to win the game outright if you're looking to eliminate the point spread. Minus 122 returns 100. And in terms of the total, after opening at 51, 51.5 at a lot of sports books, it is all the way up to 54 right now at DraftKings. In terms of some things to know if we're betting on this game, and chances are if you're watching this video, you will be betting on the game, know that favorites are 35 and 18 straight up, winning almost 2/3 of the time. They are, however, only 26, 25, and 2 ATS in Super Bowl history, and only 6 and 10 against the spread in the last 16 Super Bowls. In terms of these two teams, Chiefs come into this game at 12-5-1 ATS overall, 7-0-1 ATS over their last 8 games, so they've been red hot as a spread bet. 49ers, meanwhile, 11-6-1 ATS, overall 6-2 ATS their last 8 games. So both teams have been good bets against the number recently. Something else that you ought to know, 49ers coming into this game with a 13-3 record, Chiefs at 12-4. Why does that matter? Because only 2 teams over the last 14 years who have had the better regular season record have gone on to win the Super Bowl. So that trend, though it's, obviously not a scientific trend, kind of does favor the Chiefs, something to keep in mind. And don't get caught up in the spread, especially when it's only 1.5 like it currently is. All you have to do is pick the winner. The winner of the Super Bowl has covered 45 times. So chances are if you can pick the right side to win, you're probably going to also pick the team that covers the spread. And certainly that would appear to be the case this year with such a short line. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the current spread. 49ers come in as a 1.5-point underdog, but they are arguably the better overall and more complete team. They are very good on the defensive line. They can run the football. Jimmy Garoppolo, though he has not had to do much in the postseason, has been a competent and effective passer at times. You go back to that game against the Saints on the road that really got the Niners the 1 seed. He's done the job at times this season, but I think for a lot of people, this is really about a tale of 2 quarterbacks. And when you stack up Patrick Mahomes next to Jimmy Garoppolo, it's hard to go against the Chiefs in this scenario. Mahomes, a 65.7% completion percentage in the postseason, 615 total yards passing, 8 touchdowns, no picks, almost 8.8 yards per attempt, a 131.5 quarterback rating. And oh, by the way, he's also added in 106 rushing yards and a score on the ground. You put that next to Garoppolo, 63% completion percentage is fine, but he's only thrown for 208 yards in the 49ers' 2 postseason games this far. 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 7.7 yards per attempt, and only an 83.6 quarterback rating, and -1 rush yard. Mahomes has been lights out. Jimmy Garoppolo has been pedestrian at best. Now, as we move along here, there are some very strong reasons that it makes sense to put your money on the 49ers in this game. And it starts with the balance. They have a top 5 offense and defense. And when you look at the completeness of each of these teams, the 49ers, as I said earlier, are probably the most balanced and certainly the more complete team. Kyle Shanahan, also good underdog head coach, 18-13 ATS overall as an underdog. And that is also including 8-2 ATS when Jimmy Garoppolo starts, which is fantastic. 80% cover rate in Garoppolo's starts. There are also some trends that are working against the Chiefs in this game. Obviously, Kansas City's offense has been very explosive so far in the postseason. You should know, though, teams averaging at least 29 points per game are only 2-7 ATS over the last 9 Super Bowls. Kansas City averaging over 29 points per game for the entire regular season and postseason. That does not bode well, at least recently, in terms of covering the spread in the Super Bowl. Also see this here, teams that have won 9 of their last 10 games leading into the Super Bowl, as the Chiefs have, are only 2-6 straight up, 1-7 against the spread. So even though the Chiefs are as hot as anybody and presumably coming in with all of this momentum building up over the last 2 months, that has not necessarily translated to victories and covers in the Super Bowl. Also know the teams that have been or that have outscored the opposition by at least 12 points per game over a 10-game stretch leading into the Super Bowl are only 4-8 ATS. So it's not just that the Chiefs are winning, it's that they're blowing out opponents. And again, that has not translated into victories and covers in the Super Bowl, at least not at a high rate. And here's a stupid trend to know, but something that people will be talking about leading up to this game. Teams wearing white have won 13 of the last 15 Super Bowls, and yes, the 49ers will be wearing white on Sunday in Miami. Now, if you've been watching our videos for the past few weeks, it should be no surprise to you that I like the Kansas City Chiefs in this football game. I locked them in as my bet to win the Super Bowl after the wild card round, actually. So here we are. Why taking the Chiefs makes sense, and really this is why I am taking the Chiefs in this football game. And it starts with Andy Reid, the much maligned Andrew Walter Reid. I believe finally, after 20 plus years as a head coach in the NFL, he is going to capture his first Lombardi trophy. As a head coach, Andy Reid, 19-6 straight up since 2003 with an extra week to prepare, 16-9 ATS, 64% cover rate. That is outstanding. It's always been one of Reid's strengths dating back to his time with the Eagles. Since 2003, Reid is 87, 68, and 5 ATS when he's getting at least 55% of spread bets. 39, 28, and 2 ATS with the Chiefs. He's also 33, 21, and 2 against the spread when getting at least 58% of the spread bet action. And the teams that are getting at least 55% of the action on spread bets are 7-3 ATS over the last 10 Super Bowls. Why does this matter, and how does it pertain to the Chiefs? Because people are hammering Kansas City right now. As we record this video, Chiefs getting roughly 60% of the spread bet action. Obviously, this can change throughout the week, something to keep an eye on. But if the early betting patterns hold, this is something that you need to know. Andy Reid has been outstanding when the public backs his team against the spread. Also, teams that have scored at least 30 points in their previous 2 games heading into the Super Bowl, 5-2 ATS over the last 7 championship games. Know that. Super Bowl teams that have had the line move against their favor. For instance, if you're a 2-point favorite that becomes a 3-point favorite. These teams are 9-5 ATS in the Super Bowl. We saw this last season when the Patriots saw the line move against them in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and they went on to win the game 13-3, obviously. In fact, going all the way back to 2003, playoff teams that have seen the line move against them are 77, 54, and 4 against the spread. That's nearly a 60% cover rate. They are also 6-2 ATS this postseason. And finally, a stupid trend on the Chiefs. Teams with less Super Bowl experience are 8-5 over the last 13 Super Bowls. KC outnumbered 8-2 in terms of players with Super Bowl experience. San Francisco is the more experienced team, and that does not matter. People say that it does. It has not held up, though, in recent Super Bowls. So for the purposes of full disclosure, in the 2 Chiefs games leading into the Super Bowl, they were at home, and I played a trend of Andy Reid home teams, especially in the postseason, not going over the total. That backfired twice. So take all of this with a grain of salt. But we looked at this game from a lot of different angles, and here's what we found. Listen, nobody wants to bet the under, especially in a game like the Super Bowl. Getting out to midfield and hitting coffin corner punts doesn't exactly make memories happen. But there could be some potential value on the under, especially with the line movement that we've seen throughout the first week, week and a half leading up to the Super Bowl following the championship round. So let's take a look at why betting the under makes some sense. If we go back to the 03 season, the under is 43-36 in all NFL games with a closing total between 54 and 56 points. It's also 6-3 the under is in postseason games when the total closes between 54 and 56 points. So that is where we're kind of starting, and then working off of that, the under is also 7-3-1 in the 11 Super Bowls with the highest closing totals. So historically speaking, when we see monster totals in the Super Bowl, we're getting under plays, and that applied to last year's game between the Patriots and Rams as well. We had a total that was sitting in the mid-50s to upper 50s in that game, and it never even came close. And finally, the under is also 5-1 in the last 6 Super Bowls with a total set at least 50 points. So again, playing off the idea that we have a higher total here, historically speaking, both recently and going back through the decades, we have lower scoring games with these big totals. Now, if you look at the board behind me here, you can tell by the sheer volume of notes that we only had a few for the under and we have a lot on the over, and that'll probably give you some insight as to where I am headed with my totals pick. Let's start here though. Just a little note to be aware of: the over is 26-25-1 in Super Bowl history. There was no total set in Super Bowl I, and that's why we only have 52 results, despite the fact that we've played 53 Super Bowls. I'm starting with Andy Reid. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan has a much smaller, much shorter track record as a head coach, but we can look at a long record for Andy Reid. And we know that the over is 16-11-1 in Reid's games with the Chiefs when the total closes at 50 points or higher. High total games coached by Andy Reid tend to go over, so we're starting there. And off of that, the over is also 18-12 in games starting at 6 p.m. or later during Andy Reid's Chiefs tenure, including 5-2 when the total closes at 54 points or higher. So two things to blend in there. Late starts, obviously, Super Bowl kicking off after 6 p.m. We'll call it a primetime game. Andy Reid in the over, usually a good pairing. And when it's a night game with a higher total, 54 or more, 5-2 the over is. So those things kind of combine together to suggest that the over might be the right play here, at least from a historical sense. Also know that in the last 8 Super Bowls with a spread of 3 points or less, remember Kansas City, 1.5-point favorite right now, the over is 6-2. It's also 4-1. The last 5 times the NFC West has played in the Super Bowl. So again, short spreads, big point totals has been the recent trend. And finally, 2 quick points here. The over is 9-4 in postseason games when it receives at least 70% of the total handle. For those of you that don't know, the handle is the amount of money, not the number of bets, but the amount of money thrown on a side. Right now, as we record this early in the week leading up to the Super Bowl, the public is all over the over. Nearly 80% of the money coming in on the over right now. That's something to keep an eye on. You would think, hey, go against the grain, go against the public, but that has not been the case when at least 70% of the handle is on the over. Again, 9-4 in postseason games. That's going back to the 03 postseason. And starting with Super Bowl 36, so we're working off of roughly the last 20 years here. The last 5 times a Super Bowl stayed under 40 points. Remember, only 16 points scored last year. The following game averaged 58.4 points per game. So we've seen low-scoring contests followed by explosive offensive performances. Again, does this trend here necessarily have anything to do with the 49ers and Chiefs on Sunday night and the way the game's going to be played? Maybe not. But when we look at this, very rarely do we see low-scoring Super Bowls, especially recently, pieced together year after year. So when it comes to locking in a play on the total in this game, listen, I have some concerns about the fact that we've lost value now that the line opened at 51.5 and has since moved to 54 as we talk here early in the week. Again, it could continue to climb. Maybe it comes back to earth a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that. But as it stands now at 54 points, I look at this game. I like the historical trends that suggest that this thing is going to go over. I also believe that San Francisco is going going to open up the passing game this time around. We will not see 8 pass attempts from Jimmy Garoppolo in this football game. I think they know they're going to have to throw the ball and throw it effectively to win. I expect there to be some big-time explosive plays on both sides of the football. Maybe the defense sets up some scoring opportunities for the offenses on both sides. I believe that one way or another, though, however, that this game is going to get over the total of 54 points. I don't like it as much as I like the Chiefs, but I'll go with the over. So let's get into some Super Bowl 54 predictions. Here's what I am taking. You heard me say it a couple minutes ago. I like the Chiefs. So there are some different offers and plays on the Chiefs across the legal sports books that I'll be taking advantage of this Sunday. I'm heading over to DraftKings, crossingbroad.com/DK, taking the Chiefs. I'll lay the 1.5. That'll be my play of the day, my main play. But there is also a way that I can get some extra value as well. I can head over to FoxBet, crossingbroad.com/FB, download FoxBet. They were offering early in the week Chiefs -1.5 and over 44.5 points. Obviously, you're getting nearly 10 points of value on the total. It's a same game parlay with an adjusted total and the standard spread. That was paying out +140 at the time of this recording. That is obviously subject to change. And then FanDuel Sportsbook, crossingbroad.com/FD. You can grab the Chiefs to win by 1 to 13 points with a +160 payout. Like I said, I like Kansas City to win the game, but San Francisco is a complete team, can do a lot of things well. I don't think that Kansas City is going to run away with this, so I can essentially eliminate the point spread and try to maximize my payout on the Chiefs. All right, we're going to get into the wacky, ridiculous, wild Super Bowl 54 props in just a second. Before we do, remember crossingbroad.com, all of the best online legal sportsbook promos at crossingbroad.com. Also, DraftKings Sportsbook, crossingbroad.com/DK, up to $1,000 in free cash as you bet on the Super Bowl. So let's get into the ridiculous prop bets now. I love the coin toss. Every year, I am all about the coin toss, and I believe that I have dug deep and I have found a winning formula for this year's coin toss. Why bet on the coin toss when there are so many other more scientific, more detailed, rational plays that you could make? Because it's one of the first things that happens. Throw 25, 30 bucks on the coin toss, build the bankroll, and crush it the rest of the night. Set the tone early by being the only person in the room screaming at the television during the coin toss. I know that I will be. Heads or tails, -103 on both sides. So you have to pay a little juice on both sides here, gotta make sure the books get theirs. All time, tails is 28-25 in the Super Bowl coin toss, 52.8%. So yeah, close to a 50-50 proposition, but not quite. Lately, tails has been red hot. It won last year. It is on a 5-1 run. That's outrageous. All right, so if you're a law of averages guy, maybe tails run will be coming to an end. Also know that the winner of the toss has won only 24 of the 53 Super Bowls and hasn't won in 5 years in a row, which is the longest streak in Super Bowl history. So I have 2 plays that I'm going to make on the coin toss in this football game. The first, I'm going heads. I think the tails' luck runs out this year. The other play that I like is the Chiefs to win the coin toss and the Chiefs to win the football game, and that pays out +255 at DraftKings Sportsbook. So forget laying 1.5 points, forget, even return on your money or laying 110 to win 100. Go get paid. Take the Chiefs to win the toss, take the Chiefs to win the game +255, and put to bed this streak of 5 straight seasons in which the team that has won the toss has gone on to lose. I think that comes to an end this year. All right, listen, I just told you I am a coin toss guy, but admittedly, I'm probably the only coin toss guy. However, every year at the Super Bowl, you go to a Super Bowl party, you got a couple people in the room, they get the stopwatch out on their cell phones, and the national anthem starts, and they're timing that thing. And I like to bet on the national anthem, the length of the national anthem. This year's performer, Demi Lovato, she was out of the spotlight for a couple years, but she is back, and she's got the big stage ahead of Super Bowl 54. Something to know, the over-under being set at 2 minutes, She averages 1 minute and 57 seconds. Right now, you can go on YouTube and check out her 4 previous national anthem performances going all the way back to 2008. The average time, 3 seconds short of our 2-minute over-under that is set for this performance. Now, Lovato's most recent national anthem performance hit 2 minutes and 11 seconds at the Mayweather-McGregor fight in August of 2017, which is the last time that she performed in front of a public audience. She was at 158 or under the other 3 times she performed on the big stage, so if you go with history and what she's done more frequently, the under is the right play. If you go with the more recent performance, she went way over. Also consider that 7 of the last 11 female vocalists to perform the national anthem at the Super Bowl have gone over the total. I think that she's coming back into the public forum here for the first time in a while, and she's going to crush it. I expect her to go over the total of 2 minutes. And by the way, here's a bonus pick, and I feel strongly about this one. Why move on from the national anthem at the end of the song? You can take this national anthem prop and play it throughout the night. Here's a bonus pick. Scoring drive to take less time than the anthem length. Yes, minus 200. That means Demi Lovato sings it, let's just say 2 minutes for point of reference. Will there be a scoring drive that is under 2 minutes in length? I think so. Between the Chiefs' explosive offense, 49ers' propensity to create turnovers, there could be big plays all over the field, drives with under 2 minutes to go at the end of the first half, end of the game. I believe that this is money. I think that this may be the safest bet of the night. I am taking a scoring drive to take less time than the anthem length. Minus 200, I will lay it. All right, the Super Bowl 54 halftime show. We have Jennifer Lopez, we have Shakira. We'll probably have some special guests that we don't even know about yet. You can bet on the Super Bowl halftime show. Prop that we're taking a look at here is which Jennifer Lopez song will we hear first? I don't know about you, but I celebrate the entire J-Lo catalog. Her music speaks to me. Listen, Let's Get Loud, plus 300 is the leader. I believe that this is the most likely song that we will hear, so I understand why it is the favorite right now, plus 300. She is by herself in this song, whereas On the Floor, up-tempo, song bumps a little bit, but it has Pitbull. I don't think that they're going to have Pitbull on stage at the start of the performance. Same thing, Get Right. Again, this is a situation, she's by herself. Up-tempo song could be Get Right if you're looking to cash at plus 1,000. I don't think it's going to be Jenny from the Block. That's kind of a little bit too old school. I think we're going to get something a little bit more recent, maybe in the last 10 years or so. Me personally, I'm going to be a sucker. I'll be a square here. I'm going to take Let's Get Loud to start the performance. It'll be the first Jennifer Lopez song we hear. And a bonus play down low. Pitbull to make an appearance on stage. He's Mr. 305. Minus 700. It's the best $700 I'll ever spend. I'm loading up my DraftKings Sportsbook account, and I'm putting $700 on Pitbull to make an appearance. I'm really not going to do that. But it's good value. It's good value. All right, so the last ridiculous prop bet that we are going to look at is the color of the Gatorade or water that is dumped on the game's winning head coach. So let's take a look at the board up here. Some books have lime green or yellow as the favorite. DraftKings has recently posted odds on the Gatorade color, and red is the favorite. So let's work through this a little bit. My supposition is going to be that we will see yellow. Why yellow? Where are you getting yellow from? And why not red? It's the color of the 49ers. It's the color of the Chiefs. I actually like yellow as a contrast color. I think red on red is just a little bit too much. So honestly, I think I can just see it. I see Andy going to midfield to do his handshake with Kyle Shanahan. But before he does that, you're going to see the yellow Gatorade cascade down Big Red's face. It's going to bathe him, wash away his poor clock management sins of years past. So I think that we're going to see yellow Gatorade. We have it at plus 275 here. Whatever your sports book is offering it at, that's what I suggest you take. Don't take the favorite. Don't be a square. Pass on red. Go lime green and or yellow at plus 275. Next, we're going to talk about some of the player props. Yes, you can bet on the coin toss, the Gatorade color, national anthem length, and all sorts of other goofy stuff. But one of the best parts about betting on the Super Bowl is the assorted and lengthy list of player prop options. We'll get to that in just a second. Just a quick reminder, crossingbroad.com, all you need for sign-up bonuses, promo offers, and be sure to check out DraftKings Sportsbook, crossingbroad.com/DK. Super Bowl 54, the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers. You can bet on the national anthem. You can bet on the color of the Gatorade to be dumped on the winning head coach. Hell, you can even bet on the coin toss. You bet on the game, you can bet on the total, but you can also bet on player props, and there are tons and tons of them ahead of this football game. We are going to talk about some of the ones that we like the most in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to let you know that you can head over to crossingbroad.com. All of the best legal online sportsbook promos and sign-up bonuses when you arrive at the page. Also, be sure to check out DraftKings Sportsbook, crossingbroad.com/DK, up to $1,000 in free bets ahead of Super Bowl 54, and also plus 300 odds on either the 49ers or the Chiefs, up to a $20 bet. Will return you 60 on the back end. Be sure to check it out. All right, so one of my favorite prop bets to play is what you see behind me here, and that's the jersey number of the first touchdown scorer. Take a look at the line here, over under 26.5. The over is plus 115. The under is juiced up all the way to minus 143. Why is that? Why so much juice on the under? First of all, the first touchdown scorer has been the number 27 or higher in 39 of the previous 53 Super Bowls. So again, it draws us back to this question. Why is the under so heavily juiced? Well, here's something to take into consideration. The under is actually hit in the last 3 Super Bowls. We had Devonta Freeman, number 24, 3 years ago. Alshon Jeffrey, number 17, opened the scoring in Super Bowl 52. And then last year, in the fourth quarter, Sony Michel became the first, last, and only touchdown scorer of Super Bowl 53. He was wearing number 26. So the under is on a run. And one of the reasons why is because we're seeing more skill position players, especially wide receivers, wear numbers in the teens. And they're getting out of the 80s. That's been a huge, huge difference. Let's look at some of the key players in this football game and their jersey numbers. Damian Williams, Chiefs running back, number 26. That would be the under. Raheem Mostert, number 31, coming off a 4-touchdown performance in the NFC Championship game against the Packers. He wears number 31. Tyreek Hill, explosive receiver for the Chiefs, number 10. Travis Kelce, big playmaking tight end, number 87. George Kittel, number 85, tight end of the 49ers. Deebo Samuel, number 19. Emanuel Sanders, number 17. Sammy Watkins, number 14. Again, we see a lot of the receivers transitioning out of the 80s and into the teens, and that's a big reason that we see this number juiced up the way that it is, especially considering these are receivers that anytime they touch the football, they are a threat to take it all the way. So, a couple things that you need to know. Yes, Raheem Mostert, 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. But know that Damian Williams, who is also, with Mostert, the players with the best odds to score in Super Bowl 54, has 8 touchdowns in 4 postseason games with the Chiefs. And also, when you look at this, something to just keep in mind, and we'll make a pick on this in a second, the last touchdown scorer has also been number 27 or higher 39 times. You get the same odds on the first and last touchdown scorer of the game. Where am I headed this year? I'm going under. I think that this trend that we have seen in recent seasons is going to continue to hold true. There's just too many playmaking wide receivers in the teens. You factor in that both Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo could also run in the football. They're under 26.5 as well. And I'm willing to pay that extra juice and take the under on this prop. All right, every year, one of the most popular player prop bets in the Super Bowl is on which player will be named Super Bowl MVP. Take a look at the board here. Pat Mahomes plus 115, Jimmy Garoppolo plus 225. There is a reason that the quarterbacks are the 2 heaviest favorites, and that's because in Super Bowl history, 29 of the 54 MVPs have been quarterbacks. We had one season in which there were co-MVPs named. That's why there's 54 of them, not 53. Most recently, over the last 10 years, we've had 7 quarterbacks, 2 linebackers, believe it or not, and only 1 wide receiver. Noticeably absent from that list there are running backs. In fact, if you go back over the last 20 or so years, we have not had a running back be named Super Bowl MVP. Last player to do it, Terrell Davis in Super Bowl 32 after a 157 rushing yard performance, 3 touchdowns. So something to keep in mind. However, when I look at this, I believe that the Chiefs are going to win the game. I think that Patrick Mahomes, if the Chiefs are to win the game, is going to be the MVP. So I will be a square here and lock in Mahomes at plus 115. However, if you're looking for another way to play Super Bowl MVP and you want a little bit of a longer shot, with all of the different explosive receivers that are on the field, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, even Emanuel Sanders, who has Super Bowl experience. We saw Julian Edelman win it last year. I think it's more likely that this is going to be a passing-oriented game. There's an opportunity for wide receivers to possibly steal the show here, and at plus 750, you can bet on a wide receiver to be named Super Bowl MVP. So my pick is Mahomes. If you're looking for some longer odds, maybe take a wide receiver to win it. Okay, up next, we're going to take a look at some of the different yardage props here, and there are a few that I like. The first one that stands out to me is Emanuel Sanders, over 40.5 receiving yards. The play here with Sanders, he only had 1 target in the NFC Championship game. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of a buy low opportunity. This total probably should be set at about 50 yards. There's a couple reasons that I like Sanders. First of all, a veteran player. He had 40-plus yards at least 4 times with the 49ers. You go back to their game against the Saints, and that felt like the Niners' best effort, a game they had to win. And it was a game that Jimmy Garoppolo really shined. Sanders went for 157 yards receiving in that football game. I think that somebody with Super Bowl experience, this is a player that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to rely upon in this football game, and I think he makes enough plays to get over 40.5 receiving yards. Up next, we have Travis Kelce to go under 74.5 receiving yards, and this is a tough play to stomach. Kelce is an explosive and dynamic tight end. He is the heartbeat of the Chiefs' offense. But at the end of the day, there are a couple issues that I have with this. I do not believe that the 49ers are going to allow Kelce to beat them in this game. I truly believe that they are going to try to focus in on taking him away. And when I look at this, though San Francisco has struggled with the tight end a little bit during the postseason, you go back throughout the course of the year, they allowed a league best 552 yards to opposing tight ends this season. That's an average of only 34.5 yards per game. And so when I look at this, I think that Kelce can be a factor and be a part of a winning team on Sunday, but I don't believe that he's headed for 80, 90, 100 receiving yards. I'm going to take a chance on Kelce staying under 74.5 receiving yards. And to that end, I like George Kittle to outgain Travis Kelce, minus 106. Kittle has been very, very quiet in the postseason, but the Chiefs struggled against tight ends this year, actually had the 5th worst coverage against tight ends in terms of fantasy output. So this is a good matchup for Kittle. I expect him to expose the middle of the Kansas City defense, and I like him to have a bigger game in terms of overall yardage than Travis Kelce, specifically because of the matchup. And the last one on the board here that I like is Damian Williams over 50.5 rushing yards. 49ers defense is lights out, but they are at times vulnerable against the run. Chiefs obviously have a very, very good offensive line. And since returning from injury, a lot of this play has to do with the fact that Damian Williams has taken over in the backfield. Since coming back from injury, in Week 16, he has averaged 14.25 carries per game and 70.25 rushing yards per game. He's gotten 66, 97, and 85% of the offensive snaps, respectively, over the last 3 games. I think there's going to be opportunities for Williams to run the football, gain some yardage against the 49ers run defense that's solid. It's in the top half of the league, but again, it's not an elite run defense, so I will take Williams to eclipse 50.5 rushing yards. All right, and some other props that I'm looking at on Sunday afternoon. This one's offered over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Terrell Suggs to retire by the following Monday after the Super Bowl, plus 150. Suggs has had quite a career. I believe that the Chiefs are going to win this game. He's going to go out on a high note. And, like my prop to kind of not just end on Sunday night, take it into the following week maybe. And I'll take a shot at plus 150 on Suggs to retire by February 10th. In terms of the next one, total players to attempt to pass under 2.5. I know that there's some thought out there that perhaps Sammy Watkins will attempt to pass. Good arm, notably good arm, but I believe that we're not going to see any Philly specials or anything of that nature. I'll say that players to attempt to pass stays under 2.5. Plus, you have the added benefit of the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo may not even attempt to pass on Sunday afternoon. So we'll see what happens with that. Jimmy Garoppolo to complete his first pass attempt of the night, minus 200. Both quarterbacks last year actually were incomplete on their first pass. You have to lay a little bit of a number here to do it, but Jimmy Garoppolo, a conservative quarterback, I think that the Mahomes play at minus 225 is actually kind of risky. He's more liable to throw the football 40 yards, 50 yards down the field. I think they'll try to get Garoppolo more in a rhythm, a more conservative attempt. I'll say that he completes his first pass at minus 200. Team to score first touchdown of the game. I'm going with the Chiefs. 2 slow starts in the postseason. I'm going to just say that we buck the trend here. Something's got to give. I'll go the other way. Take the Chiefs to score the game's first touchdown, minus 125. Either team to score 3 times unanswered? No. You know, you look at a football game and you expect, especially with a short spread, that it's going to be a hotly contested game, a lot of back and forth. Even though you get close games sometimes, teams tend to go on runs where they piece together a couple field goals in a row or maybe a touchdown and 2 field goals or what have you. In this situation, though, I'll take the plus 180. I like the value. San Francisco's defense is good. I just don't know that the Chiefs are going to be able to get hot enough where they can score 3 consecutive times. And on the other end of it, I'm not sure that the Chiefs are stout enough defensively to prevent the 49ers from, I guess perhaps halting the Chiefs' momentum. I like the Chiefs in this game. I think they're going to win, but I just don't see a scenario in which one of these 2 teams is going to go off and score 3 times unanswered. So I'll take no at plus 180. And then finally, Patrick Mahomes over 30.5 rushing yards, minus 106. You saw in the AFC Championship game against the Tennessee Titans, Mahomes started to use his legs in that game. He should have opportunities to do it against a very good 49ers pass rush. I think that he'll have to extend plays, make plays with his legs. I think he's fully recovered from that knee injury that he suffered in midseason. And also keep in mind that San Francisco gave up the 3rd most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this season. So at 30.5, minus 106, that play may be worth a shot. All right, we have spreads, game totals, novelty props, player props. You name it, you can bet on it in Super Bowl 54. And if you're looking to get in on the action, once again, head over to crossingbroad.com. Tons of great offers and bonuses for all the legal online sportsbooks in your state. And also be sure to check out DraftKings Sportsbook, crossingbroad.com/DK, up to $1,000 in free bets ahead of Super Bowl 54. And don't forget, plus 300 odds on both the Chiefs and the 49ers to win the game, $20 max bets. Be sure to take advantage of it by signing up at crossingbroad.com/DK.